Okay, we are back for part two. I hope everything's okay with regards to volume and everything else. Um, yeah, so thanks so much. I think I was actually quite surprised to see how good the response was after last time. First of all, just as some of you might notice, I've actually moved my camera to the bottom right because I'm missing the top right UI a little bit too much for my liking. Um, also, sorry for the lighting conditions, obviously. It's not ideal, I know, but what you gonna do? Anyway, I had a bit of an agenda, so I wanted to start with a bit of a preamble before we continue. As some of you might remember, I started with going through some basics last time and kind of explaining a little bit of what was going on and so on. We beat the cleric beast last time, and some other stuff. So this time we're going to pick up where we left off. I'm just gonna have to do a little bit of housekeeping real quick. Apologize for 1 second. Yeah, so streaming noob as I am, I'm probably gonna have to do some edits after the fact. So yeah, I'm still figuring this stuff out. So anyway, um, yeah, like I said, I wanted to kind of follow up on where we left off. So the last thing that happened last time was that I played against the cleric beast. I actually managed to beat it on my first try, even though I had not actually managed to level up, which is pretty badass. I'm pretty happy with that one. Um, One of the things that came up is I think I mentioned that I thought that the trigger for being allowed to level up was getting to fight a boss, but it's a bit more complex than that. So usually when you fight a boss for the first time, that's when you get your first insight. If you look at the top right, I have two stats up there. I have the blood echoes at the top, and then beneath that I actually have my insight. I have 4 insight. And it's apparently the trigger is the insight, not so much the fact that you're fighting a boss. It just generally correlates that way. But it's a bit more interesting than that because I've actually been put on New Game Plus one time, and when I was on New Game Plus, it was well, I mean, when I started the game and I got to where I am now, it was still the case that I didn't get to level up. So I think that the trigger is not just having 1 insight. It's actually the earning of 1 insight during the course of the game, right? So yeah, that's one thing. Another thing that I wanted to mention is I actually have an agenda, so I'm going to ask my lovely assistant to actually bring up my agenda and ideally not watch the stream because it doesn't do anything. So yeah, just on a quick point of order on trolling and comments and stuff. I think anyone who knows me even a little bit knows that I'm not a big fan of internet comments in general, and just trolling won't be accepted. There are lots of streamers substantially more prominent than myself who've even turned off comments. So I'm not having any trolling or any attempts at being funny at anyone's expense or whatever. I'm trying to keep it somewhat professional, so I'm not going to go as far as to turn off comments altogether if I can avoid it. But just as an FYI, beyond that, I also have no interest in making a big deal out of my career or track record. The stream is called Game Designer Plays, but as far as you guys know, I'm completely junior game designer who only just got my first job in the games industry because my uncle knows someone. Um, yeah, and I also wanted to follow up a little bit on a request. So I got a request from an acquaintance of mine in the comments field to, talk about lore and also, the changes of the game over the game world over time. And I'm going to talk about both of these in reverse order, starting with the way it caught up from a so-called macro perspective in both the Bloodborne and Souls games. What we're going to start with today, though, is upgrading. So this is the workshop where you can actually do stuff like fortifying, repairing weapons, and also leaving. At a later point, you'll get to also further modify the weapons because they have modification slots and stuff so that you can give them extra power and so on. But for now, let's just look at the whole fortification thing, right? So first of all, we have this screen where I'm allowed to uh, upgrade my saw cleaver, which is my melee weapon, and I've got the blunderbuss, which is my offhand weapon. As you can see, I'm not actually able to do either right now because I need more blood echoes. So, that's one of the requirements. If you look at the top right, they explain that quite explicitly. So I need, 300 and 380 for my blunderbuss, and 240 for my saw cleaver. I also need bloodstone shards. Okay, so bloodstone shards. That's kind of interesting. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I think some of you have played MMO games and stuff, and you're kind of familiar to this with this whole concept of needing certain reagents beyond money in order to upgrade your weapon. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how that works. So throughout the course of Bloodborne, you're going to see the requirements evolve a little bit, which is the case for a lot of games. So we have bloodstone shards, and as you progress through the game, first of all, what happens is as you upgrade your weapon by spending these shards, you're going to need more of the shards to actually be able to further upgrade the weapon. But even that only goes up until a certain point. Yeah. So you actually bump into a point where you need a different kind of resource, and I think the next step up is something like the twin bloodstone shards or something like that. So the same resources don't actually go any further. There are quite a few reasons behind this. One of the biggest reasons is balancing. Obviously, they don't want to make it possible for a player to grind an infinite number of these bloodstone shards and to just basically stay in the easiest possible zone of the game and just do very, very easy things over and over again, and that way become overpowered and then have way too easy a time getting through the rest of the game. So that's one reason. Beyond that, also it's about making sure that the player plays, aggressively, which is implicit in what I just said. So, yeah. So that's basically it. It's some of these newer resources, the twin bloodstone shards, and even later ones, they are constrained by location generally, right? So you have to be in a certain part of the game to be able to actually access them. If you'll excuse me for just 1 second, I'm going to shut off the microphone for 1 second. I'll be right. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I've reclaimed my laptop, and thank you so much for handing it over, Sarah, my sweet girlfriend. Now, yeah, so to make sure I don't actually miss out on anything, right, so that was the agenda, and that's the word on upgrading and bloodstone shards. So I'm actually going to use some bloodstone shards now, but I recall that I also didn't have enough blood echoes, so I'm actually going to use one of these thick gold blood thingamajigs, so that now I have enough blood echoes and I can actually upgrade my saw cleaver. Now, how does one choose whether to actually upgrade the saw cleaver or the blunderbuss? It's basically, to me, it's an easy choice. The vast majority of my attacks are going to be saw cleaver attacks. I use this more often than not, and I'm not really good with the blunderbuss. So here we go. I use 240 blood echoes and bloodstone shards to fortify the weapon. I say yes, and then I have the +1, and then you'll notice if you actually look at the user interface, you'll see that to get up to the next level on the same thing, I'm now going to have to spend 5, right? So there's always the bit of a resource battle between my weapons, in that I have to make a decision as to what I upgrade and what I don't upgrade. Yeah, so this leads us into the next topic of conversation, or kind of the same topic of conversation, which is the whole idea of content tiers. And this is implicit in what I was just talking about how, different types of content exist in different geographical locations and so on. So some of you might actually remember that I mentioned that when I played the game the first time, I actually didn't beat the Cleric Beast boss first, the one that you saw in the previous episode. The first one that I beat was the second boss, or what's supposed to kind of be the second boss. It's Father Gascoigne. Now, This wasn't me doing some sort of really crazy sequence breaking or anything like that. This comes back to how the game is designed. It's actually meant to be possible to do these kinds of things. And the way they've actually structured the content is by approaching it in a so-called tiered approach. So you have different tiers of content. What that means in practice is that, okay, so one way of visualizing it is to think of it as kind of a cake with layers, right? So, at the bottom layer, you have a bunch of different content. You have, stuff like playing through the intro of the game, getting certain items and so on. And, also the bosses. The bosses are also included in that tier of content. Now, in order to reach the next tier of content, you only have to beat one of them. You only have to beat the second one, which is Father Gascoigne. But you can basically ignore other stuff in that content tier, right? And then in the next content tier over, there are things that you have to do to progress from there. And you can go back to the previous content tier if you want, but you always have to do these certain, gating type things in order to get to the next tier of content. So, small spoiler alert, when you get to tier 2 for this game, there's this one gate near the monastery, I think, or the cathedral ward, I think, that you can open by purchasing a certain key item from here. All right, so let's look here. And Hunter Chief Emblem, key to the gate to the Grand Cathedral's round plaza, right? But my understanding, and I only learned this today because my girlfriend had actually done some Googling, there's also another way to get to that same place. So in that instance, there's not just the one gate that you need to get through or can get through. You have multiple ways of getting through there if you want. Yes? And then beyond that, you have, the tier 3 and so on and so forth. Now, most of the content within each tier is kind of sort of at the same level of difficulty and will yield kind of sort of the same types of rewards. And to make sure that this comes back to the thing with the upgrading and stuff, because there's a lot of, complex maths going on. But one of the things is the way the stats work, for instance, number one, it gets really, really cumbersome to just keep leveling your character by grinding in the first part of the game over and over again. So even if you can do that, the amount of time that you're going to have to spend in order to level up by simply beating the very easiest enemies over and over again is going to make it prohibitively expensive in terms of time invested, right? So the reason, though, that they allow that, but that they don't allow the same thing with the weapons is that the weapon upgrades are just so much stronger. In fact, as you level up your weapons, as you make your weapons stronger, they start to scale better with your stats, right? So whatever grinding you've been doing for blood echoes and levels, when you level up your weapon, that's just going to have an exponential effect on the whole thing. Anyway, one more thing to mention about Bloodborne is there's another factor to keep in mind when it comes to this tiering of content, and that is time. Now, they don't use time in the absolute sense, but what they have is some content gatekeepers, if you can call them that, will actually make the time in the world advance. So it's going to go from evening to night to late night to so on and so forth. So the night just keeps getting nightier or something. I'm trying not to spoil too much. And that's a modifier that actually applies to not all content tiers, but some of them. And what that means is, some of the older tiers of content that you've already visited, you can actually revisit at a later time and have stuff change, right, to kind of make it interesting again. Now, they could leverage that system a lot more than they do. I mean, they probably leverage it a lot more than I know, because I'm not that good at the game and I don't know anything about it. But basically, they can get a lot of reuse of old areas and old enemies by just modifying stuff based on what time of day or night it is, right? So that's a relatively cheap way. I mean, it's a lot cheaper than making brand new locations all the time. And you if you've played Bloodborne through to the end, you'll see how much clever content reuse they actually engage in. This whole thing with the different times is another way of making that work. So these different times, you can actually see them as staples, kind of, that go in parallel with the the tiers that I talked about. If you look at this Yharnam headstone, this is what allows us to teleport back to Yharnam, right? Much of the content in this headstone is available at all tiers, or rather at all times of the night. Temporal tiers, or whatever you might want to call them. Whereas, with this one, the Awakening headstone, I think that is only from a certain time. I mean, it basically is impossible, I think, to get to some of these areas at certain times of day. And, that progresses. So they have a lot of modifiers. It's not like an exponential possibility space, but they do have a lot of stuff that they can do thanks to this system. So. Now, enough yapping for now, so I'm going to jump back into the game and pick up where stuff left off. As you might remember, I got this checkpoint by beating the Cleric Beast. So I beat the Cleric Beast, and that gave me a lamp that I could use to go back into the Hunter's Dream. If anyone has any questions so far, we're obviously taking questions in the chat. So if anyone has any questions, I'll have the young lady sitting at my desk communicating it to me. No questions so far. Cool.
Dave says he tweeted it for you.
Oh, sweet. Thanks, Dave.
I said thanks.
Yeah. Dave apparently tweeted for me, so Dave's always dependable and awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about lore because that came up. Oh, look at that guy. I missed that guy. So Quicksilver Bullets. So someone asked that I talk a little bit more about lore in the game, and I've spoken a bit about how they do more of the so-called, implicit than explicit storytelling, but I wanted to elaborate a little bit on that. So you guys remember what I said about the Cleric Beast, that I beat the Cleric Beast, and, I'm really happy that I did and everything. But more importantly, that it was kind of sort of optional. Now, I don't know if it truly is. I mean, there's not a single playthrough where I haven't actually killed a Cleric Beast, so maybe there's some aspect, some part of the game that I couldn't really access if I hadn't killed a Cleric Beast that I don't even know about. But let's look at what happened when I killed a Cleric Beast, right? So the only thing that I got, except for that lamp that I just showed you guys and that I arrived via, is the Sword Hunter badge. Badge of the Swordsman Hunters under the Church's blessing. So let's look at this in a bit more detail. One of the badges crafted by the Healing Church. The silver sword is a symbol of a church hunter. Ludwig was the first of many Healing Church hunters to come, many of whom were clerics. As it was, clerics transformed into the most hideous beasts. I don't know that there is any use for this except as a container of lore. Yes? In fact, if you look at the way lore is set up in the game, there are a lot of items that contain really interesting and important descriptions, and one of the ways they tell the story is by having you piece it together through items. And I'm going to find some more examples of this, and I'm going to hopefully get to this point without dying. Now, it's not all that, right? So some of these items obviously have real applications. They actually do something for you beyond just, act as containers of lore. Okay, so this is an interesting thing. So this guy will follow me to the ends of the earth, it seems like. But Troll Bastard over there, he just steps towards me and then he backs off. Now, I'm going to just ask the chat. Does anyone have any idea what's going on there with the troll guy? Like, why doesn't he actually attack me? Why doesn't he follow me? Anyone in chat want to venture a guess? I know that the chat's a bit delayed, so I'm going to give you guys a few seconds. Okay, so no taker so far. So what's going on here, and this is my best guess because there are a lot of systems that could actually yield this behavior from the AI agent. But basically, something that's invisible to all of us is that in all probability, the characters have a grid or a mesh, sometimes called a nav mesh, sometimes called an AI grid, an AI mesh, something like that. There is an invisible area on the floor that dictates where the enemies can go. I mean, some of the enemies are also told that they can only follow you an absolute amount of distance on top of it. So there are a lot of rules that dictate what's, what can and cannot happen. But anyway, this guy can only follow me so far, and then he runs out of grid. He's just not simply allowed to follow me any further, so he needs to back off. And there are lots of these instances, and it makes for a lot of pretty good grinding opportunities. Sometimes it's the lack of nav mesh. Sometimes it's the fact that they get stuck in geometry or something like that. I think I'm going to show you guys that later with the wolves. Gosh, I thought I was in better shape to beat this guy, but oh my gosh, get to the chopper. This is really painful. I think it's kind of important that again, like I said in the previous episode, I think it's quite important that one doesn't get, cocky. So I can go in multiple directions here. I know this. I'm not really sure that I want to fight the wolves. Oh, footsteps. I'm just trying not to inadvertently aggro those wolves. I mean, they have a really nasty pattern of attack and defense and what have you. So trying not to fight them if I can avoid it. Here we go. We're moving down. And we're going to be opening a back door here to provide ourselves with easy access to the lamp back there. Cool. And now we're proceeding. So yeah, now I'm back on the so-called critical path of the game. There are a couple of trolls down here that I really have no interest in fighting, so I'm not going to fight them right now, but they're down there. They make for pretty decent XP, but I feel a little bit underpowered right now. I don't want to risk fighting two of them at the same time. This is a nice little area that has, the dogs and cages, and, feels a little bit wrong, but still, they still yield blood echoes, so yay for leveling up for very little effort. Oh boy. Oh boy, I'm so bad at this. Also, this weapon I'm not used to. Go. So here's one of the things you might want to notice. I don't know how well you hear the audio. I'm going to shut up for a second. So you hear the maniacal laughing and so on. So, at this time of day in Yharnam, people are still laughing, in a reasonably crazy way, but still they seem to be having a lot of fun. And then as time passes, you can, go to these same places and people just aren't all that happy anymore. That's just like a little aesthetic atmosphere touch that they've added just to illustrate that, stuff gets bad as time passes. And then we've got this little dog barking at something. Oh.
You're a hunter. Well, do you know of any safe places?
Do I know of any safe places?
I've heard I have. Shutting up indoors isn't always enough. Well, if you once had got off your arse, you wouldn't be in this mess. You're obligated to help me, you hear?
Apparently I'm obligated to help her.
So what was it?
What will it be? Unfortunately, at this point, I don't actually know of any safe places. I'm going to have to tell her no.
Should have known. You're good for nothing. Go on.
So anyway, this is the game telling me that, hey, if you ever bump into something that you think qualifies as a safe place, you need to tell this person. Now, as quests go, I'm not sure. I don't know that I'd bother to try to do anything much better than this. But bear in mind, there are a lot of places in this game that we all kind of know are really safe, but my character needs to be convinced by another character later in the game that they have found a quote-unquote safe place. And then it works, So it's not just about finding a place that seems safe. But yeah, that's a completely different type of quest entirely. So it's one of these things that, you'll know it when you see it because the game is explicitly going to tell you, hey, this is a safe place. Go here. Anyway, here we go. Semi-hidden area. Oh, there's stuff here. Nifty. So yeah, to find all of this stuff, it's a good idea to just generally not be shy and just go around breaking everything, because you never know where something interesting is going to be. Here's an interesting passage. So I see that this thing is kind of seemingly carrying some sort of item, and one of the things about these games and a lot of other games like it is that simply attacking doesn't necessarily equate to me standing in place and attacking. Sometimes I actually take a step forward, so I need to be really careful. It's part of the attack animation that my character gets moved forward, and there's always the risk of actually getting, well, just falling down and falling to your death or into the arms of something that then eats you to death. So one needs to be very careful when attacking stuff in these precarious situations. There we go. We get through here, and here is an NPC. Hello, don't you look nice?
Oh, a hunter, are you?
Yep.
What a mess
I'm
you've
a
been
hunter.
caught
I'm
in.
caught up in a mess.
Here.
Tonight all nights. Welcome to new hunter. I got the bold hunter's mark.
Prepare yourself.
Prepare yourself for the
There are
worst. No humans
humans
left. Flesh, hungry beasts. Very good. And I keep
Chilling.
talking.
What's wrong?
And yeah, because I kept talking to this person, I got a gesture, I think. I don't use a lot of gestures, but yeah. There you go. So I can actually modify the gestures, and I got a new one. So for shaking off the cape.
What are you enough
Yeah, so this is
hunt.
the character's way of telling me that I'm not supposed to talk to them anymore, and so on. So yeah, there's something shiny here, but I don't know that I can actually do anything with it, and well, we'll see. But yeah, so this is interesting. So I'm pretty sure that this character is going to prove to be important going forward, and I haven't actually bothered to Google it or check any FAQs or anything like that, right? But it's really funny. I don't know exactly why, but on my first playthrough, I completely forgot that this person existed. And this is one of the things that comes, you know, for better or worse, from having this kind of system with the tiered content that this game has, is that I need to push the story and the events forward and engage in certain key activities, which then kind of progresses certain things, and I'm guessing this NPC as well. So I'm going to have to go and keep checking on this character, assuming they will even be here when I come back, which is, you know, not always the case. So it's a little bit of a scavenger hunt. What you want to do is you want to go around, you want to play, and then you want to go back to previous areas and just scour them for stuff you may have missed or that may have changed since last time. I mean, it's okay. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but the kind of behavior that it promotes, in order to find everything, you have to play in a very, should we say, meticulous way. And again, it's not necessarily bad, but I have to wonder if, you know, OCD-like combing of every inch of the game that you've already visited every time you've done something meaningful is the way that they wanted players to play this. Can I make this work? No, I can't. See, I thought I'd be clever, but I failed. Owie. I really miss my axe sometimes. I'm not really doing damage like I'm used to. So, was there a question?
Someone wants to know if you want spoilers on the NPCs.
I'd rather not take any spoilers on the NPCs. The biggest reason is that I want to be as surprised as when I find them, on the one hand. On the other hand, I want to see if my analysis turns out to be correct. So I think that might be of interest to everyone. But yeah, no spoilers for now. I guess when we approach the end and I feel like I've kind of lost track of something or don't know what to do, then I'm going to explicitly ask in chat, and then you go ahead and spoil as much as you want. Thanks. Okay, so sorry for the slow progress. I'm just kind of thinking of a lot of observations all the time. But I do have a point. There is a very specific place that I'm aiming to go towards. So I'm going to try to sneak up on the guy and land one of those visceral attacks. Yeah, and that's the end of that. So the thing I mentioned before about the damage, one of the things is usually when it comes to leveling up your character, it's, I wouldn't say it's a false choice, but it's it's always justified. Like, unless you've hit some sort of level cap or stat cap or something like that, where you start seeing diminishing returns, which is that you invest as much as you used to, but you get less back. Unless you've hit a cap like that, upgrading your attack power is always a good idea. You can, like, there are so many things that can go wrong in a given fight, right? So the shorter the battle is, the less likely you are to take a killing blow to the face, pretty much. So I'm really noticing how much it hurts me not to do as much damage with this weapon as I did with my last one. And I'm going to probably do a lot of upgrading of my damage output just for that reason, because it really sucks to not do any damage. Yeah, so here we go. This is a way out, but I'm actually going to drop down here. I think that's an okay thing to do. I'm just going to try to do it from the bridge. I see that there are rats down there, and I want to drop down at a place that doesn't necessarily aggro too many of them at the same time, because the rats are actually nastier than you might think just by looking at them. And that... Okay, so that's one rat down. So there are 3 of them in here. Do we still have any Molotov cocktails? That would seem to not be the case. No, not mapped at least. Oh, I wanted to make a comment also on the Bold Hunter's Mark. So that basically lets you escape with all of your resources intact. So if you ever bump into a boss that you don't feel that you're in a good state to fight or something, you have a few limited items available to you that will let you kind of escape with your echoes intact. But it's not a standard feature. I mean, as I say, it's a limited resource. You can only use it so many times, because it's the developer being nice to you, but yeah, they'd rather you didn't use it too often, so you can only use it a limited number of times throughout the course of the game. So how the hell was I supposed to get up on that side again? I think I probably need to get down and then drop from that side too. So, death to the rat. Okay, so dead rat. There are 3 rats over there. I forget if they're actually guarding something. I may be making a mistake by even... yeah, they are guarding something. See, my inner kleptomaniac can't just leave an item behind, especially one that's being guarded. Like, you know that if they're guarding it, it's got to be good, right? Death. Madman's knowledge. Look at that. So I suppose that would have been a way of leveling up if I didn't want to take on a boss in order to do it. Oh. There it goes. I'm down here. Anything over there? Anything over there? No. Steps back up. See if I actually managed to aggro any of the enemies. Yes, hello. I'll be back, don't worry. In this game, generally just kiting and trying to fight one enemy at a time is doubtlessly one of the most useful strategies. It works in every conceivable situation. Oh gosh. Okay, Bloodstone shards. I think I'm in. I think I might actually upgrade again pretty soon, which is kind of cool. So yeah, right. Dropping down on this side. To remember where it was safe to do that, I think over on this bridge, I can drop down over here. Look at that. Floating in midair. Okay. Dum 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 dum. Rat and go. Throwing knife. Ah, nice. It's like a pebble, but with a bit more bite. Oh, here we go. I don't like you very much. I don't like fast things. I'm old. I'm like 30-something. Okay. Another bloodstone shard. Oh, yeah. A lot of upgrading. And that's that. Now, so we'll move on. Back up again. Mind you, there is a point to all this. I'm going to kind of get back to what I was talking about lore and so on. I have a master plan. It's just that it's really hard to figure out the timings in advance, which is also true for games development. If anyone can give you a solid release date after the first month of planning, they are lying to you. Hello. Okay, so line of sighting your enemies is always a good idea. I wonder how long it takes for these guys to lose interest. They might not. Eee! Ow. Okay, so there we go. Go silver bullets. So here's an interesting thing. You guys remember I was talking a bit about icons last time. So it took me the longest time to figure out that what they're trying to say in this screen is that, you know, the icon on the left-hand side. So first you've got the text that says Quicksilver bullets, and then you have the number, which kind of explains everything. And then to the left of the text, you have the bullets themselves with a bluish background. And then to the left of that, you have some bizarre icon that most of you can't even actually make out. And what that is trying to tell you is that the bullets that you couldn't pick up because you're maxed out, in my case I have 20 and that's the maximum at the moment, they were sent to storage back in the Hunter's Dream. Isn't that really clear and obvious, ladies and gentlemen? They were just sent back to storage. That's what that icon means. Oh, brother. Oh. Anyway, again with the birds. Splat. Okay, so there we go. Steps. Wonder where they lead to. Oh. Bird hiding in barrels. Okay, so I am going to eventually drop down there, but not quite yet, because there's something to pick up here. So here we go. Yay, another bloodstone shard. I know I'm overhealing here. Is there anything in here? No, not really. I usually find that I'm just not a fan because of the damage output of the enemies in this game. I just don't like walking around with anything less than the maximum amount of health. Oh, that guy over there, right? That's where I picked up the armor that I'm not wearing. And we're climbing back up again. And now where are we? So we're going over here. Killing birds. Ah. Antidote. Oh, that's cool. Madman's knowledge. Cool. And we're moving ahead. Oh. Be very quiet. Okay, that's a problem. So I did the hard attack from behind, which is supposed to set up a so-called visceral attack, but I wasn't close enough afterwards, so it didn't work out. So that's why sometimes it can be in your best interest to actually have the shorter version of the weapon so that you're not, you know, you don't keep him at an uncomfortable and unnecessary distance. More dialogue. This. Oh boy, they're not very nice. I wish that's how real life worked. You just keep knocking the same door and they just kind of say the same thing over and over again, and they never get annoyed and they never call the police on you. Anyway, here we go. So look at this. There's a thing. You know, why someone thought it was a good idea to just put these occlusions in front of them. Just as I came up here, I couldn't have told you that there was a lever over here. Now, what do these things do? Why do you have to? Why would anyone put these bushes here? It's like level designers are trolling you or some shit. Alright. Open this up, and bingo, and I know exactly where we are. So we actually got ourselves another shortcut back to the beginning of the game again. Like I mentioned before, they love to do that. Very rarely do they stack lamps close to each other geographically. They'd rather just give you a shortcut back. You see a lot of circles in the game design, or level design rather, of this game. So here we go. What do I hear?
I don't know your voice. Are you a hunter? Just go look for my mum.
Need to look for a mum.
I'm back from the hunt. I'm all alone.
Find girl's mother or refuse. You don't hate children, do you, ladies and gentlemen? Because if you say no, you clearly hate children.
Really? Oh, thank you.
I don't hate children.
Mum was a red jeweled brooch.
Red jeweled brooch.
Big and
beautiful. You won't miss it.
Oh, I mustn't forget. If you find my mum, give her this music box.
Tiny music
Plays
box.
some of Daddy's favourite songs. And when Daddy forgets us, we play it for him so he won't so silly when I'm off without it.
Okay, so when Daddy forgets us, I can play the song of the music box. Well, if he's anything like my dad, it's probably Stairway to Heaven or something on the music box. Anyway.
My mum wears a red jeweled brooch.
I'm joking, sorry, Dad.
Oh, and if please.
Okay, music box, thank you. But that's not what I'm here for. So, going back down again. Come on. There we go. There we go. So we're moving back down. Because we have ourselves a pig to kill. Unless the pig kills me first, which is quite likely because I'm a bit under-leveled. Yeah, I am Lord. Okay, right, so we're going down here. Okay, so level design for dummies. Who smells a trap? I mean, seriously, it's like, oh, look at all this space, and there's something over there just ripe for the taking, and bunch of corpses. Yeah, I didn't buy it the first time either. Oh, these guys can actually take a punch. And I missed. That's when you know that you're really bad at the game, where your target's basically already dead and you still miss. Ow! Ancient Chinese art of, I don't know, walking into people. Just grab the thing. Oh, more bullets. Oh yeah, why don't I use bullets more? I need to figure out the whole thing with the bullets. Or not. I can just not figure out the bullets, because God, it doesn't work for me. So this becomes another little aspect of balancing. Like when I used to have the axe, and you know, the axe has this long form circular strong attack, and that automatically made these enemies, like this whole spot, just a beautiful grinding location, because I just use the spinny attack once, twice, maybe 3 times, and I just kill all of them at once. You know, it's a lot more difficult now, substantially. Okay, maybe I'm being a little bit over careful, but I just feel so squishy. Oh my gosh, more of them. Blood vials. Blood vials. And the jump attack is good, because I get my first hit in. God damn it. Love it. Nice. There we go. Oh, birds. Okay, is there anything in here? No. Oh wait, yes there is. Some shards. I find that the gun in general, but especially the blunderbuss, it doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's pretty good. Like when they get really, really close to almost kind of sort of being dead, and I don't want to do another lunge at them, I actually use the blunderbuss, and that's pretty good for getting that last shot in. Another bold hunter's mark. So I want to take on the pig over there, but you know what? I'm not stupid, because I don't think I'm going to pull it off. I'm just going to have to land way too many strikes, and it's just not going to be worth it. But I do want to kill the pig, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up these steps. Obviously, I've played this game before. Go up here. I'm going to kill the pig. My girlfriend's telling me to kill a pig. Obviously, I'll kill the pig. You can't say no to that pretty face of hers. But first, I'm going to do the shortcutty thing. Oh god, look at me. I'm just like covered in blood and phlegm. It's not Friday already, is it? Anyway. Here I go. Bum, 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 bum. Because I feel like I'm in a good spot to go level up both my character and my weapon. So I'm going to dodge those guys because, what's that law? Murphy's Law. Anything that goes wrong can and will. Drop anything? No. Owie. I'm not really sure with this weapon. Sometimes I really get the impression that the short form is actually more powerful, but that can't be. That can't be the case. That would just be wrong. I do think it's more powerful in that the DPS is higher, but that's because I'm throwing more attacks, obviously. So back to the Hunter stream. So I guess if anyone has any questions, now is obviously a good time. Okay, what was I doing? Oh yeah, before leveling up my character, I am going to fortify my weapons. All right, so saw cleaver, saw spear. I don't know. The saw spear is probably awesome, but I'm gonna give the cleaver a go. Oh, I don't have enough to level it up yet again, but maybe the no. I'm just not feeling the blunderbuss. I don't feel shooting at all. I always do melee weapon first because I just know that's how I'm gonna do most of my damage if I land any hits whatsoever.
Well, what is it?
Okay, channel blood echoes.
Well, let me
Bum. Okay, so now that here we go, right? So I'm gonna look at something real quick. I know there was another comment, maybe that was a question. I'll check that in a second, but first I need to see something. So let's look here at the right. So the attribute bonus, it's gonna be yeah. I need to double check something. So I think I mentioned this before, that as the weapons get upgraded, I don't actually know what the difficulty is. Okay, so as the weapon gets upgraded, it actually starts scaling better with certain attributes. I'm not sure that has happened yet with this weapon, but I have a feeling that this one. Here we go. The one that I'm currently using. Sorry guys, I'm being confused. Let me look at the weapon. Right, the saw cleaver. So the attribute bonus right now is D for strength and E for skill, I think it was. So maybe I've completely got it wrong. Maybe I still need to level up my strength to have the best possible effect. Yeah, I'm confused. I thought strength was the axe weapon, and this one was more about skill, but it seems like strength is actually better for this one too, so. Oh well. So yeah, I guess I'm leveling up my strength, and yeah. That's all there is to that. And I don't know what's going to happen to the weapon as I level it up, so maybe that changes, maybe it doesn't. I still need a few blood echoes to level up. Luckily, I've saved a few of these. use multiple is a nice nifty feature. I'm not really sure. I think there was at least one of the Souls games where they didn't have that, so... Bam, 1400, so how close am I now? Channel Blood Echoes. 37, 37. I mean, they both seem to increase stuff quite well. So, oh, actually, I need to just... Yeah, there you go. Oh gosh, I feel like I've misinvested some points, but no matter. At some point, I'll probably find a weapon that scales very well with what do you call it? The skill. So, okay, back to Central Yarnum. So, any questions? No? Okay. Pum, 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 pum.
Someone was asking again if this is your first playthrough, and I answered.
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah. Okay, let's see. What's that sauce? Bears more. I haven't tried this weapon. I just want to see what it does. It does seem kind of similar to the one I already had. I'm going to stay with the cleaver. It's pretty badass. Okay. Oh, the ice cream truck is here. It's one of the telltale signs that you're in Sweden. You hear the ice cream truck at 9 in the evening on a Wednesday, because that's how we roll in Sweden. Okay. Oh, well. Use the auto aim. So yeah, what was I doing? Oh yeah, the pig. Yeah, the pig? Yeah, okay. Just double checking. Okay, okay. Pig time. Okay. If you could actually eat what you kill in this game, we could have ourselves a really interesting and bizarre take on epic mealtime. Just make like a bird inside a pig inside a corpse type meal. Come on, die already. Okay. Here comes the pig. I really don't have any Molotovs. Last time around, I actually used a Molotov cocktail to kill a pig. Let's see if I can provoke him a little bit. Come here, piggy. Come here. It's just a big lumbering pig. Oh boy. And again with the... Owie! This thing's actually more difficult than the cleric priest. I shit you not. I hate you, piggy. I've done nothing to you. That was close. Okay, okay. 4 blood vials. I think that's less than I ended up using, I guess. Okay, here we go. What do I get here again? So, the Saw Hunter badge. This is what I came for. I'm getting applause. So, Saw Hunter badge. Okay, see? I had this in mind all along. So, the Sword Hunter badge I got from the Cleric Beast. I got this from the pig just now, okay? Looking at the display. Badge crafted long ago at the workshop. What is the workshop? I don't know. Attests to one's prowess as a hunter of beasts. The workshop is gone and no group recognizes this meaningless badge except the messengers in the bath who understand its profundity. Certain things can only be entrusted with a hunter in possession of this badge, or so they believe. So what that probably means is that the shop can now sell me more shit than they could before. Right? I mean, pretty basic. But I have to put 2 and 2 together and figure that out for myself and then go to the messengers and see what I can buy that I couldn't buy before. So yeah, this kind of comes back to the whole lore thingamajig with the implicit rather than explicit storytelling. Yeah, it's kind of obvious what point I'm trying to make. Jesus, I actually spent a lot of time giving you another example of that. Maybe I could have spent that time better, but I still needed to grind a little bit because I'm not in any shape to actually take on the next boss yet. Oh, hello. Will I survive this? Hope it. Okay. Yep, okay. And jumpies. Oh boy. Come on. Come on. Hit a guy. Yes. Okay. Visual attack. That worked. Okay. And up here and to the right is the next boss. I'm not really sure that I feel like I'm in good enough on right now. I think I'll try to level up at least one more time. Okay, another visceral attack. There we go. Actually felt pretty good. Okay, so here's the Bold Hunter's Mark. Another oil urn, blood vial. It's all good. And I'm going to see about leveling up again. So yeah, as I'm doing that, so yeah, so like I mentioned in the last episode, even your own character in this game seems to know more about the environment than you do as a player, right? It's, apparently your character has an agenda by being here. I don't know what that is. They were talking about pale blood and stuff like that, and as a player, you really don't have any way of knowing up front. There's very little plot in the straightforward, normal sense of the word in these games, right? That's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, I don't think it is a bad thing at all. I think it just adds to the whole mystery thing. There is some of that. They do have some cutscenes and things that happen, that are clearly meant to explain certain things to you. But if you want the whole picture, you have to keep picking up stuff and looking at the descriptions and kind of putting your own picture together. Now, this is all very similar to the Souls games. I've often likened the Souls games to a sort of medieval fantasy version of CSI or, Sherlock Holmes or that kind of stuff, right? So you show up after everything has gone to hell and you have to figure out and piece together what's happened, if that makes sense, right? So you get all these fragmented clues and so on and so forth, and you put them together and you kind of design your own story. And there's a bit of variance in there, and I quite like that. I think that people fill in the gaps whatever way they want, which means that different players are going to have different experiences and different stories, and there's going to be community building and so on and so forth. It's actually quite clever. Bloodborne is like that, but I think it feels a little bit more focused on being in the thick of things as they're going to hell, whereas Souls is often, after the fact. It may not sound like much, but it does a lot for the aesthetic and the feel of the whole thing. In my opinion, the atmosphere and the aesthetic of Souls is so much more about the sadness, the like the darkness of it all. And here it's more like I feel that there's more of a Ragnarok-y type against all odds. Hopefully we can still save this before it goes completely to hell. But that's just my take on it. That's just how I feel that the aesthetic works. As for what the story actually is, I suppose I'll comment on that as it happens. I have my own, little interpretations and so on, but I don't want to get through the entire game and just, spoil everything. So yeah, that's it. So let's see here. I need a few more souls. So I keep calling them souls. A few more blood echoes to level up. I don't remember exactly how many, but I might as well use all of these. There we go. 3,883. Hopefully that's still enough for another level. So strength and endurance would be really nifty to be allowed to level up. Okay, I'm getting strength again. I feel a bit ticked that I misread this weapon. I really thought that it was going to scale with skill, which I think the saw spear actually does. But right now I feel like the saw spear is just too underleveled because I've already spent quite a few shards. Has a bit more range, but its stats are different. So I think it scales differently. Anyway, one good thing about there being a shop is that if you have a slight surplus of blood echoes like I do, then you can always put them into stuff. Oh gosh, the saw spear. Yeah, see so if you look at the attribute bonuses, saw cleaver and hunter axe kind of have. I mean, the hunter axe requires more strength, and I think that's kind of what confused me a little bit there. Yeah, so I guess I need to just keep putting more into strength again. Oh, bad game designer, bad analysis. Yeah, this is the stuff that I have available for sale. I don't know what, if anything, was opened up by my finding of that Saw Hunter badge. Don't know, not obvious. That could be communicated by having a certain icon, or just kind of identifying it somehow by just, letting the player know why you can buy certain things now that you have that. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so I can now buy stuff. So I guess the question that I would have to ask is, because this has already been about an hour of broadcasting. Thanks so much to everyone who's been with me so far. But one of the points of feedback that I got after last episode was that it was a bit on the long side. So it was like an hour and 50 minutes or something like that. So I thought I'd make this one a little bit shorter. So I guess I'd leave it to the audience and ask if anyone has any interest in seeing me get brutalized by Father Gascoigne. So if people want me to do that, I'm going to give that at least one shot. But otherwise, I'm actually going to leave that to the next episode. And what I'll probably do is to make sure that episode actually proceeds in a good way, I'll probably grind a little bit off camera because no one wants to see me go around and gather blood echoes.
While we wait for answers, someone is saying that the story has a bit more of a religious feel to it than Souls.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. So the comment was that, for those of us who don't actually watch this on Twitch perhaps, so one of the comments in chat was that it has a bit more of a religious feel. And yeah, no, I'll definitely agree with that. And there are a lot of comments to that effect. I mean, you can talk to the doll and she makes all kinds of comments.
The little ones, inhabitants of the dream.
Get brutalized now.
Like yourself, speak word. Farewell, good may you.
Yeah, no, it definitely has a bit of a religious feel. I mean, there's a lot of really, big epic themes going on here. And I quite like that about the game, If you're going to be using this kind of aesthetic and this whole Lovecraftian thing, with the insight that as you get more and more of the insight, you kind of learn more, but it also means that you're going insane a little bit. It's kind of Lovecraftian like that and whatever. If you're going to be in that fiction at all, go for it. I mean, really go for it. You can go balls to the wall. You've already established that this is going to be some really trippy stuff. Like, you don't want to be in this environment when you're on shrooms, say, because it's just going to blow your mind. So, yeah. Go big or go home if you're going to be in this kind of aesthetic. Alright, there we go. So, walking over to Father Gascoigne to get my ass handed to me. Boom, 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 boom. And dashy time. One thing I'm going to do just to prepare up front is I'm going to find a tiny music box, because you can actually use the tiny music box against Father Gascoigne. The first time I played the game, I actually didn't use the music box, and I still beat the guy. It's a lot easier if you do use the music box, but you have to be kind of careful with how you use it. Because the developer has put some constraints on the use of the music box. So if you use the music box on the boss, small spoiler alert, he he's a little bit staggered, if you can call it that. So that's kind of cool. So it makes it a very useful item, but it also gets him closer to his, should we say, second form. That is a bit more problematic than his first form. So yeah, you have to be strategic with your use of the music box. And when he's in his second form, I think you can only use it one time. So you have a limited number of uses. You need to be absolutely sure that you want to use the music box before you do. Oh, counter jump. Wow, that hurt. Yeah, I can just dodge these guys, and I think I will. So the fewer blood echoes I have when Father Gascoigne kills me, the better I'll feel about having died. Because joke's on him. Oh, brother, I so hate this guy, and I don't have my axe. See, with the axe, I could do some really crazy stuff, hiding behind trees and gravestones, and... I'm only doing this because someone asked. Two people obviously asked, so yeah. If you're doing game design and content design right, what you're trying to do in the first few hours of the game is not just to entertain and challenge the player, but you also want to teach them stuff without explicitly teaching them something. So someone said to me that Father Gascoigne is meant to teach you to dodge properly and to do visceral attacks really well. He just taught me to level up and to cheat. I'm sure that there is some really gracious way of beating this guy, but I don't know what it is. Oh god. Oh, this is gonna hurt. Okay, yes, nice camera is nice, thank you. See? So look at this. This is just a little bit stupid as level design goes. He can still reach me through it, but it really simplifies things for me that I can kind of keep him at arm's length, courtesy of these things. Obviously that still hurts. See? Oh, that actually opened up for a visceral. Oh, look at that. And visceral attack. Whew, alright. See, I'm gonna music box the guy. And that makes him do that.
What's that smell?
It's not me. Oh boy. Now he goes for long form axe, and now I'm at a disadvantage. If only I still had my axe. Oh boy. Spinny attack. Oh boy. Yeah. Father Gascoigne, remember your family. Ow. See, I don't want to use the music box again too quickly, but that's going to get him to shapeshift, and then he's going to be extremely annoying, and please let me hit. Oh, no. See, he has range on me. He has range, he has damage output. What he doesn't have is my fighting spirit. And go. Oh. Okay, counter blunderbuss. Oh, okay. What a dick. Dodgies. Yeah, music box time again. I don't care. If I use it a third time, he's totally gonna go werewolf on me. And an interesting thing about this character too is that he's kind of a little bit like the player. So there's a bit of a PvP teaching element to it too, right? He's not super representative of what other players would be like, but he kind of has that same movement set. He's a humanoid and all this stuff. Okay. Okay, last of the music boxing. I think he's going to... Yeah, here we go. And I have to retarget, which has killed many a noob. Eek. Where are you? Oh, there he is. See, don't lose track of the guy, because he's going to mess you up. Music box again. And it actually worked, but I'm too far away now. Actually capitalize. Die, father. Daddy, remember your family. And also, maybe glitch. Or die or something, spontaneously. Because this really sucks. Ah. Oh, do the thing with the kick. I actually feel pretty good about that. I have to say, I actually feel pretty good about that. Whew. Wasn't that a close call? Alright, heart rate pretty high. Yes, belated clapping from over there. Obviously, my girlfriend's monitoring my progress, but she's on the stream and has a bit of a delay, so, you know, yay me. Not bad, considering I don't know the weapon at all. Oh, still trying to figure everything out. Oh, boy. Thank you, Tiny Music Box. So yeah, red jeweled brooch. So I guess that means both mommy and daddy died. You know, it's not the kind of news you want to give anyone, let alone a little kid. Guess I'm gonna have to break it to her. And I forget if I get anything. Oh yeah, there's a thing with the brooch too. Anyway, I mean, this is a good enough place to kind of stop streaming for now, unless anyone has any questions, just kind of to wrap up or whatever. So, you know, any questions or comments, more than happy to take them. Otherwise, I guess I'll see you guys next time. This has actually been a lot of fun. I mean, I'm still a total noob at the whole streaming thing, so there's a lot of stuff with the format that I'm just figuring out, but it's going to get better every time. What I don't want to do is I don't want to steal anyone else's format. I mean, I'm having fun with this so long as I get to do it as a spontaneous thing and just kind of basically run my mouth and we can just have a blast together. But, you know, the second it becomes too, dare I call it pretentious, then it's no fun anymore. So I'm not going to try to do any crazy production stuff or anything like that. That's just not interesting to me. Where did the doll go? Bum, 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 bum. Oh, there she is. Hey, what were you doing? Looking at some random grave, huh?
Welcome home, good hand. What is it you desire?
I want to see about channeling blood echoes, but I'm pretty sure that I don't have enough of them. Let me just double check. Did I find dew or anything like that? No. No.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Just double
Very
check.
well. Let me.
Do I? Yeah, no, don't have enough.
Farewell, good.
Yeah, that's it. So I think this is a good place to wrap up. So thanks so much everyone for tuning in. I'm going to make sure that this ends up on YouTube, just like the previous one. So thanks so much for watching so far, and those of you who are just logging in, sorry that I'm kind of ending it just now, but you can always look at the VOD. I'm guessing the VOD is going to be archived immediately, and it's going to be available quite soon. So if you missed something, you can always just scroll back and see what you missed. I don't know exactly when I'm going to be streaming next time, but I think just in keeping with tradition, it's not quite a tradition yet, but you know what I mean. I think it'll probably be Friday. So hopefully I'll, stream Friday, and then we'll take it from here. I may have done a little bit of grinding or something in between, because not all of this stuff is super fun. So whether it's here or in the YouTube channel, you can probably find the YouTube channel without trying too hard. You can just search for Game Designer Plays on YouTube, and you can just throw in questions there, and I'll try to answer as many questions as possible, and have whatever you guys ask be my guide for what I want to talk about in the next episode. So thank you so much, and this is me signing out.